What's up, everybody? It's your boy Hulk, and welcome back to another video. It feels good to say that. It's been a while, and I ain't really got no excuse, but it's been a while. The offseason finally feels like it's slowing down, and I thought to myself, what better way to start to making videos than talk about my 76ers. So the 76ers season didn't go the way a lot of fans, and I think the team imagined it would. Joel Embiid with an injury for most of the season. He played less than 40 regular season games, and then in the playoffs, he's still dealing with his knee and has cerebral palsy on the left side of his face during that Knicks playoff series. Leads to another early exit for the 76ers, and then we all get to wondering, well, okay, what are the Sixers going to do in the offseason? We need to make some shakeups. We're a team that's going to have a lot of money. There were all these rumors swirling around Paul George, and then lo and behold, news breaks, Sixers end up signing Paul George on a 4-year, $200 and basically $12 million max contract. So Paul George is a Sixer for the next 4 years, at least the next 3. The last year of the 4 is a player option. It's a backloaded contract, meaning it gets more and more money each year, and it basically averages about the $50 million a year over the next 4 years. And while initially that feels like a lot of money, I think the back half of that is going to feel worse than the front half of that. Paul George right now is 34 years old. By the end of this contract, if he opts into his player option, he'll be $38 million, making like $58 million a year. But before we all panic, let's take a look at this and see why the Sixers did this, how Paul George can fit on this Sixers organization. Paul George last year with the Clippers, 22 points a game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 47% from the field, 41% from 3. On paper, if I boot up 2K right now, I think Paul George is an interesting fit with the 76ers. I have a couple of questions, and I like it a little bit, but I do still have a couple of questions on the fit. Paul George is one of my favorite players in the NBA. I've enjoyed him since he was PG-24 back in his Indiana Pacers days, playing alongside Danny Granger. Like, I've watched him throughout his whole career. I've been a fan of him throughout his entire career. He's one of my favorite players. All that being said, I was still a little apprehensive about the idea of the 76ers signing him, because as a 76ers fan, I'll be honest, I'll say superstar. I have superstar fatigue. I have star chasing fatigue. Didn't work out with Jimmy Butler. Didn't work out with James Harden. Didn't work out with, it wasn't really a chase, but it blew up horribly with Ben Simmons. It's starting to feel like, at least in Philadelphia, 3 stars don't work. And with the breakout season that Tyrese Maxey had last year, the initial worry, I will say, is Paul George okay with being the third option? Is Paul George okay with potentially not taking as many shots as he's used to? More so, what I mean by that is, how is Paul George going to fit on a different team as the third option? Because the way I see this, he should be the third option on the 76ers. Last year for the Sixers, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey took most of the shots. Now, granted, it's a smaller sample size due to Joel Embiid's injury. We're only looking at like the first 30 games of the season, but in those first 30 games, Joel and Tyrese each took 20 shots a game. And then the guy with the most attempts after them was Tobias Harris with 13. I don't think it'd be too much of an adjustment period for Paul George coming off of playing with Kawhi and Harden. Last season, Paul George only shot 16 shots a game. And no, I'm not encompassing his full role of just how many shots these guys take. That's not what I necessarily mean when I say third option in their role. But I mean, the simple as like touches, how often you get the ball, how often you can dribble with the ball, being able to move off ball. Those are all things I'm interested to see how he fits. I think he can do those things and can be a fit like that for this team. I just think it'll be a different look than he's used to. He's never played with a big that's as good or even close as good or even a similar play style where the offense runs through him. He's never played with the offense running through the paint, running through an interior presence like Joel Embiid. I mentioned earlier that as a Sixers fan, I have star chasing fatigue. For the last couple of years, it's felt like that the Sixers have been looking for that third star, whether it was Jimmy Butler, James Harden, and at one point we were thinking it's going to be Maxey, Ben, and Joel, and Ben left. And then it was Harden, Maxey, and Joel, and then Harden left, and now it's PG, Maxey, and Joel. And personally, I think in looking for that third star, we've sacrificed some of the, I guess I'll say, role player aspects of some of the other guys you're looking for, some glue guys that you might be looking for to bring to the team. For example, when the team was healthy in the beginning of last season, Nicholas Batum was a huge role player, glue guy, just all-around guy for the 76ers, being a person who can make those extra passes, being a person who's willing to play some defense, knock down some open shots, and just find a way to fit in and make an impact without the ball. Now, Paul George being inserted essentially into Nicholas Batum's spot and placed in a lineup, I don't think we're going to get the exact same thing. Honestly, I'm even interested to see how much of the, I'll say, role player, dirty guy stuff Paul George is even willing to do, considering back in June, on his Podcast P, he basically talked about some of the growing pains that the Clippers went through when James Harden was traded to that team, and how he talked about they went on like that 5-game skid where they just lost a bunch of games in a row. And he was saying that it wasn't James Harden's fault and it wasn't blaming James Harden. He was just saying the team was missing guys like Nicholas Batum and Robert Covington, who they traded away in that trade to some of the glue guys who are willing to make those extra passes due to dirty work. They were missing those dirty work guys. And he ends the clip basically saying that him and Kawhi had to become those dirty work guys. And the full context of that conversation, he made it seem like he didn't enjoy that. And it was a new role for him that he had to learn and grow in. I'm hoping that his experience from the Clippers and learning to be that dirty work guy can carry over to the 76ers, because I think that's going to be some of the role he has to take on. Like, I would love to see Paul George take on some of that high-low action that Nico and Joel were running early in the season, with Nico at the high post being a solid passer to get some over-the-top passes to Joel Embiid in the post. I think Paul George has the ability to do that. Like I said, he only averaged 3 assists last year with James Harden, but in the previous 3 seasons before Harden got there to LA, he was 5 assists a game. Not crazy. I'm not saying he was, this amazing playmaker, but he's a guy who's willing to make that extra pass, can be smart with the ball and make some smart passes. Another aspect of his game I'm excited to see on the 76ers is his catch and shoot ability. He's 45% on catch and shoot threes last season. Like, we know Paul George can shoot the ball, and that's on 4 attempts a game. Paul George shoots the ball at a high level, at a high clip. He's comfortable shooting off the dribbles, comfortable shooting in the catch and shoot. He's a really, really good shooter, and I think playing alongside Joel Embiid, someone who does draw so much attention in the paint and causes defenses to collapse, will get him a lot of open threes, or at the very least, teams won't want to leave Paul George open, so it might just space that floor a little bit, space the floor out more for Joel. But I'm not going to act like this doesn't come with any concerns. I have major health concerns for this 76ers team. Just, it's inevitable to have health concerns with this current 76ers team. Joel Embiid hasn't been healthy in the playoffs. Off the top of my head, I could probably look it up, but off the top of my head, I cannot remember the last time Joel Embiid was 100% healthy. And I can't even say 100% because most NBA players will tell you no one's healthy in the playoffs. No one's 100% in the playoffs. But I can't tell you the last time Joel Embiid had an injury that wasn't significantly altering his play when it comes to the playoffs in how many years. Paul George has had his bouts where he struggled with health over the last couple of seasons. He played 31 games in the 21-22 season. He sat out of the 2023 playoffs entirely. So last year, solid, sure, but it's not like health isn't something that has been a concern for Paul George, or hasn't been something that I'll say a narrative that has loomed over him for the last couple of seasons, because of just he hasn't always been healthy come playoffs, both him and Joel. So that's definitely a concern. And then my last concern, I don't think we'll see it as much, but he can't be stagnant. The offense can't become stagnant just because we added another star. It can't turn into a my turn, your turn, his turn situation. I think at times the Clippers did look like that with Paul George, Kawhi, and Harden last year. But one thing I really enjoyed about the Sixers offense in the beginning of the season, when Joel was still healthy, once again for this 30-game sample size, Nick Nurse implemented an offense that involved a lot of motion for the other guys. Kelly Oubre, Nicholas Batum, they moved off the ball a lot. And I hope Paul George buys into that and we see more of that, and we see Nick Nurse continue to implement some of that, because how good a shooter Paul George is. Yes, he's excellent with the ball. Yes, he's smooth with the ball. He can create his own shots, and I'm sure he'll have that opportunity. But if he can buy in and move off ball, I think that would honestly open up a lot of just easy jumpers for him, because he's such a good shooter. All in all, I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited to see Paul George in his team. And like I said, I'm a huge Paul George fan. I have some concerns, but that's because I'm a Sixers fan that's been hurt before, you feel me? But I'm excited to see him play. I think Daryl Morey has done honestly a really as good as a job he could have done over the last couple of seasons in terms of the cards he's been dealt. Ben Simmons doesn't want to play, traded for James Harden, getting Paul George in free agency. Like, he's attempting to make moves, I'll say that. And they're not necessarily bad moves. They don't always work, but they're not necessarily bad moves. Speaking of Daryl Morey and some of the other moves he made, quickly going through some of the other signings that the Sixers made this offseason. Andre Drummond's coming back on a 2-year deal, player option in the second year. He's back again with the Sixers. He was a part of the Sixers the year that Ben Simmons sat out, and we traded him halfway through the season for James Harden. He's a part of that trade, and he was solid. He was a solid backup for Joel Embiid. I like the idea of having Andre as a backup big. I think we still lack some depth in the front court in general in terms of like the power forward position, backup power forward. But Andre Drummond as a backup center is a really, really good fit to me. Like, when Joel's off the floor, honestly, the Sixers really just need somebody who's going to rebound well. and attempt to do a solid job at defending the rim. You can stagger their minutes, and when Joel's not on the court, you can have either Maxey or PG on the court pretty much at all times. So having Drummond as that center running with that second unit, I like that. Eric Gordon came on, signed a 2-year deal. Once again, player option in that second year. Okay, backup shooting guard. I don't have high hopes for him. 11 points last year on 37% from 3 on 6 attempts. Like, that's basically going to be his role. You're here to put up shots. You're here to try to create a little bit, not much, but the catch and shoot's got to be there for him. He's getting older, so I'm not expecting much on the defensive side of the ball for him. Honestly, there was never really much to expect from the defensive side of the ball from him. But I like him as a backup shooting guard. I'll say that. He's an okay backup shooting guard. And with Jared McCain, the rookie that we also drafted, playing some backup shooting guard minutes as well. Y'all know me. I'm not a rookie guy, or I'm not a college guy, I guess I'll say. I watched a little bit of him in Summer League, and from what I've read from others, from what I watched from others who have watched him a lot, they say they like his shooting and the prospect of his shooting coming into the league with the Sixers. So if we can add another shooter, him and Eric Gordon share backup shooting guard minutes, sounds solid. Reggie Jackson signed on for a 1-year deal. He was solid for the Nuggets last year. I think he'll be an okay backup shooting guard okay backup point guard for the 76ers. Last season with the Nuggets, 10 points, 4 assists on 35% from 3. Not crazy, but solid. And he had a nice about 12, 13 game stretch in the beginning of this season when Jamal Murray was still out, where he put up 15 points, 5 assists on 53 from the field, 43 from 3. I don't think he's going to look like that necessarily for the Sixers, but I bring that up to say he showed a lot of moments last year with the Nuggets, even outside of that 13-game stretch, where it's like, okay, Reggie Jackson can still play. Like, Reggie Jackson is still solid. Reggie Jackson can be a solid backup guard for a couple of teams out there, and I'm interested, and I trust him running a second unit. And then I'll say the signing that probably interested me the most, or was probably the most, I'll also say, intriguing or surprising to me, was the Caleb Martin deal. Caleb Martin signed a 4-year, $35 million deal last year, player option again. And honestly, I'm looking to him to be the glue guy we need. I'm looking to him to, I said this about Paul George, but I'm also looking for Caleb Martin to be that Nicholas Batum role, to come in and likely play. I see depth charts where Caleb Martins are starting power forward, and I'm like, okay, small ball. But I'm looking at him to be that glue guy. I'm looking at him to make extra passes, knock down some open shots. I just hope the Miami Heat role players only play good in Miami curse doesn't happen to Caleb Martin as well, and he just comes in and continues what he was doing with Miami on this 76ers team. All in all, so far, I've liked the Sixers offseason. I liked the signings we did. I think considering the amount of money that we had available and the free agents that were available on the market, Daryl Morey went out and did the best he probably could have for the 76ers situation. Now, it's up to the guys to go out there and play. It's up to Nick Nurse to implement some good offense, some good defense. But I'm excited for the season. But that's all I got for you guys today. It felt good to get the cobwebs out a little bit. Hopefully it's not another month till we see another video from me. I actually have some ideas and some notes for some future videos. Should be out in the coming week. This one felt a little rusty, so if it felt a little off, I do apologize. But if you enjoyed it and you made it this far, like always, you are a real one. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, even though we don't know when more will be. And I'll catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.